Welcome back to the South Stands, a Buckeye football podcast by Ohio State fans, for Ohio State fans. From the West Coast, I'm your host, Zach Moore. Today is Thursday, September 19th, 2024, and I'm very happy to be joined once again by fellow South Stands contributor Paige Van Horn from Denver. PVH, how's it going, my friend?
From Denver, dude, which is vastly superior to where I was all week in Orlando. So, yeah, I don't know how that compares to Jacksonville. Some of our astute old colleagues, Mr. Mikey Corcoran or whatnot, but man, oh man, thank God I'm home. So happy to be here and talking a little Buckeye football, buddy.
It's good to have you, my friend. We are also very pleased to be joined by our man on the ground in Cleveland, Chad Plummer. CP, what's the word from the 216?
Yeah, how we doing, gentlemen? The 216 is all good, man. Just don't like that bye week, so I'm looking forward to Saturday. Look to a Buckeye football game with you clowns, and let's get it rolling, baby.
All right.
And for the 216, man, the tribe, qualified for the playoffs today.
First team to clinch a playoff spot.
Oh, excellent, man. I have completely lost track of Major League Baseball. That's good to hear, though. The Guardians, although I'll never stop calling them the tribe. I'll never stop calling them the tribe.
Yeah. There could be a whole podcast on that.
So we are here to preview number 3 Ohio State's next opponent, the Marshall Thundering Herd of the Sun Belt Conference. This game, unfortunately, PVH, is a noon Eastern kick on Fox. Yeah. The line is Ohio State. The line is Ohio State minus 40. The over/under is 51.5. Now, like the Buckeyes, the Herd were off last weekend. Marshall is 1-1 with a 45-3 win over Stony Brook in their season opener and a 31-14 loss at Virginia Tech 2 weeks ago. Now, Ohio State does not have a lot of history with Marshall, despite the two campuses only being 130 miles apart. Only 2 previous meetings between these schools. The first was 20 years ago in 2004, and the Buckeyes needed a 55-yard field goal from Mike Nugent in the waning seconds to eke out a 24-21 win. That was a rough season back in 2004, a little bit of a transitional year there for Jim Tressel. Ohio State and Marshall met again 6 years later in 2010 to open that season. There was far less drama in that game. The Buckeyes won it 45-7. Now, Marshall is led by head coach Charles Huff, who is in his 4th season with the program. Now, many fans will remember that just 2 seasons ago, Huff led the Thundering Herd to a 9-4 record, which included a road win at number 8 Notre Dame. Now, Huff came to Marshall from Alabama, where he was the Crimson Tide's associate head coach and running backs coach in 2019 and 2020. Now, Huff, he probably had the soundbite of the week a couple days ago when he said, quote, "We'd love to have some of those guys from Ohio State, too. So if they want to transfer on down, we got a Tudor's Biscuits NIL, all you can eat. So if any of those guys that run really, really fast at Ohio State like Tudor's Biscuits, I promise you all you can eat all day if you transfer here," end quote. Shout out.
That was awesome.
Shout out to friend of the pod, Don Neff, who sent that quote over to me earlier this week. It was too juicy not to mention here on the pod today. Really, really funny. And I think Charles Huff officially, instantly became one of my favorite college football coaches with that quote. A little bit more on the Thundering Herd, boys, and then I'm going to kick it over to you to get some thoughts on this game. Now, the Herd played 3 quarterbacks in their season opener against Stony Brook. Then they settled on senior Stone Earl as their starter against Virginia Tech. That's a great name, Stone Earl.
Yeah, I was going to say, dude, it's a porn name. It's on a steel chamber. It's
Totally. And Earl was not so good against the Hokies. 13-36 for only 131 yards passing. Earl is a decent runner, though. He had 55 yards on 7 carries against Stony Brook. Through 2 games, Earl has only completed 44% of his passes at 4.4 yards per attempt. I mean, there couldn't be a bigger contrast in the passing games between these two opponents.
Wait. So this is the guy they settled on? Like, how bad were the other 2 guys?
Yeah, good question. I thought it was going to be Cole Pennington, Chad Pennington's son. But he got a little bit of run in the opener and got beat out by Stone Earl. We'll see. I mean, at 4.4 yards per attempt and 44% completion percentage, I don't know. Maybe he's not going to hang out of that job very long.
Wow.
They do have a decent running back in A.J. Turner. He leads the herd in rushing with 222 yards and only 14 carries. Turner is coming off back-to-back 100. I know, man. He's coming off back-to-back 100-yard rushing performance, and he looks like a pretty explosive back. He had an 80-yard run in the opener and a 69-yarder against Virginia Tech. Finally, on defense, the player to watch is sophomore edge Mike Green. Green headlines an actually pretty stout defensive line for Marshall. That should be a pretty good test for the Buckeyes. Green leads the herd in sacks with 3.5 and pressures with 12. That's only through 2 games. He's got 3.5 sacks and 12 pressures. Another player to watch for the herd is safety J.J. Roberts. Roberts never comes off the field. He leads the herd in snaps, and he is the highest graded defender among their starters with an overall grade of 83.8. Okay, that's a mouthful about the Thundering Herd. Not much was expected from Marshall during the preseason, guys. Phil Steele had the herd 89th in his power poll. Athlon had them 100th in their preseason rankings, and Lindy's had them 103rd. CP, I want to kick this over to you. Give me a few thoughts on this game.
Well, it's like one of those games, we came out the first game, looked real sluggish, like we're all on the same page. And then next week, the next week we looked a hell of a lot better, we expected them to look. And I'm hoping I believe they will come out and get off to a quick start. I don't think we're going to have the bullshit penalties on the offensive line like we had first week. I just like to get them out. It's a great game that we're going to be able to see some of the younger guys play again, get some playing time.
Yeah.
And I see this as a snore fest after probably the first quarter. But yeah, it'll be nice to see some of the younger guys in there again. I'm excited to see Stan get some snaps back at quarterback again, just to see in case something went down, because I'm I'm not a big Devin Brown fan.
No.
So. But yeah, so that's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I thought Sayan looked better than Brown when the two played against Western Michigan. He threw the long touchdown pass. And then when Brown came in, he managed to get sacked twice. I remember he also got flushed from the pocket on one play, and he could have thrown the ball away. Instead, he ran out of bounds like 5 yards short of the line of scrimmage. I think that actually counted as a sack. So it feels to me, and I think we've talked about this, CP, before, that Sayan might eventually move up to backup. Behind Will Howard. I kind of feel like that's going to happen.
Yeah.
PVH, let's kick this over to you. Give us a few thoughts on this game. What are you going to be looking for?
Yeah, Snorefest. But, the key is that it's coming off a bye. Mm-hmm. Like, if this were last week and, it's the 10 my time, 12 o'clock kick time, like, I could see them being sleepy through this, and it's a tighter game than we want it to be. I think the bye kind of works to their favor for that not to happen. Not that there's any chance in hell that, I think Marshall's going to make this a game. If a guy's 13 for 36 and he's your starting quarterback, I think we're going to be fine.
Yeah.
I'd like to see a little Gabe Van Sickle in there. I'd like to see my boy finally get some snaps on the offensive line. I've been remiss in not calling him out. Yeah, because he's going to be a staple in the South Stands pod. But other than that, yeah, just keep doing what you're doing. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's our only saving grace is we didn't have a Buckeye game to watch last weekend, so this is exciting. But there's not much more I think you can say about this one, can you?
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I'm expecting Ohio State to be able to impose its will on Marshall in many of the same ways it did against Akron and Western Michigan. But it does look like there could be a decent test for the Ohio State offensive line in this game against Mike Green and that Marshall defensive line. Now, starting left guard Donovan Jackson is expected to make his season debut in this game after missing Akron and Western Michigan. So that's good. I think there is an opportunity here for the offensive line, which we have talked about all offseason as the weak link of this team, to continue to quell any doubts. If they can give Will Howard a nice clean pocket and consistently open holes for Henderson and Judkins in the run game, I think that's something we can feel reasonably good about coming out of this game. Clearly, bigger tests are coming for that unit, of course, but I think this is the first real one on Saturday against a pretty salty Marshall defensive line. It also sounds like we're going to see even more of Brandon Inniss in the return game. Ryan Day said earlier this week that Inniss is now in the mix to return kickoffs as well as punts. Now, not a lot of fans noticed it in the Western Michigan game, but at the start of the third quarter, Jaden Ballard let the kickoff hit the ground after calling a fair catch. And for those who don't know, the rule is you have to catch the ball in that situation in order to take possession at the 25-yard line. If you don't catch the ball, you take possession at the spot where the ball hits the turf. And in that situation, the Ohio State offense had to start the first drive of the second half at its own 6-yard line because of that mental mistake by Ballard. I mean, no big deal when you're up 4 touchdowns against an overmatched opponent, but against a team like Oregon on the road, I mean, a mistake like that can cost you a football game. So, I mean, I hate to single out, right? I mean, I hate to single out the young fella like this. But look, he's a senior. He was a top 100 recruit. So no shortage of talent or experience in Ballard. I mean, only 11 career receptions, though. It's been kind of a rough go for him. He did not catch a pass last season. He was relegated to returning punts for most of 2023, where he made virtually no impact, only 49 return yards on 9 punts. So far this year, he has only 2 catches for 18 yards.
I get 49 fucking return yards.
Yeah, totally. I mean, and so far this year, he only has 2 catches for 18 yards and 23 return yards on 2 kick returns. And, you know, look, I mean, there are 2 underclassmen in Smith and Tate starting ahead of him. Now, granted, 2 very talented players in those 2, but, you know, underclassmen nonetheless. And now a 3rd underclassman appears to be poised to take snaps away from him in the return game. So not really sure where the snaps are going to come from for Ballard going forward, and that's unfortunate for him. CP, I'm going to kick this back to you. Anything else you're going to be looking for in this game?
No, you know what? The one thing you did just mention is Ennis, man. That kid, his first step, it's like fucking out of the gate, like just.
Oh yeah.
You know, the depth of how just like so quick, man. It's awesome. I mean, every time he gets the ball, you know, it's like he's going to take one back this year, whether it's a kickoff or a punt, but it's going to happen.
I agree. I love his confidence. If you ever get a chance to see him interviewed, or he's the guy, dude. The dude has some like swag, right? You can just kind of dripping off of him, and very sure-handed too. And I think also he's a legitimate playmaker for them as a receiver as well. I mean, I feel like they could. He's that 4th guy, right? You know, as they get later in the season, the competition starts to stiffen, especially when they get into the playoffs. You know, you're going to need depth of playmaking, and I think Inniss is definitely going to give that to them, if not just on special teams as a receiver as well. PVH, what about you? Anything else you want to share about this game?
Not really, dude. I mean, come on. Although I was maybe thinking about the line, like 40. That might be a little low. Like,
could be.
Kind of scratching my head. Yeah, because what was it last week? Was it 40 or 2 weeks ago? Was it 48?
It was 48.5, I think. Started over 50, I believe, and then came down to 48.5, if I'm not mistaken. But, yeah.
No, I like the Buckeyes to cover this, you know, easily.
It's like 51.5 now.
Yeah, it's 51.5 now. All right, well, let's do that. That'll lead us into score predictions. And
wait a minute. What, the line's 51 now?
No. It's now. No, you're right, Zach. It's 39.5, 39.5.
So the line is now 39.5. Okay, got it. So it's come down just a little bit since I last checked it.
51.5.
Okay, got it. All right. Well, why don't we jump right into score predictions, boys? CP, why don't I kick this back to you again? The line is 39.5, it sounds like, and the over/under last time I checked was 51.5. Give us a score prediction, CP.
I'm going to go 63-13.
63-13. Woo. All right.
I think we're going to I think they're just going to put it, you know, I mean, because like our backups could probably start a lot of them start most places in the country, and you know, it's not like we're putting a bunch of scrubs in there like to fucking, you know, take over the second half.
You think Marshall's going to put up 13 on this defense?
No, I just was trying to be nice.
Well, it's you said
I'm
it.
trying to be better that way. You know what I mean?
Okay, 63-13. I love it. PVH, give us a score prediction here.
I'm gonna go with 52-0. They're gonna pitch another shutout, and they're gonna cover the over by a mere half point.
I love it, man. Back-to-back shutouts. Now that makes me curious. The last time the Buckeyes pitched back-to-back shutouts, that's going back a long time. I'm sure. I'll have to look that up.
PVH though, the over/under now is 52.5, Brock.
Okay, then 53-0.
53-0. Okay, all right. I love it. Real-time updates from CP.
Because there's already money on the over, and we're gonna have to do it. We're gonna have to find that last second field goal just to get the over, like 2 weeks ago when Thane threw the pass to what's his bucket, Christian or something like that.
Bennett Christian, yeah.
They covered. I think the spread. I think they already had the over, or they might not have had the over. But yeah, that was close. But yeah, 53-0.
Love it. Okay, and I love the real time updates on the over under from CP. Thanks for that, CP. This is what people come here for, right? You come here for sound gambling advice, and you get real time updates on things that matter.
Although my two games, like Michigan, like they let me down. Like I had them covered.
Oh, that's right.
Spread,
but PVH, you actually did not have Michigan covering, right? So you won a little money on that last week, right?
And we actually did have money on that. It looked a little dicey there for a second, but I know we might get to Michigan in a minute. But yeah, Michigan is paying out fantastically this year as long as you just don't take them. Take the other team.
I love it. So, yeah, look, we've seen the Buckeyes look sluggish coming out of an off week before, but I don't think that happens on Saturday. The play of the offensive line, I think, is going to dictate how quickly the Buckeyes can put this one away. They should get a lift with Donovan Jackson back in the lineup. It's hard to imagine a quarterback who's completing 44% of his passes at 4.4 yards per attempt, and PVH, you made this point earlier, having much success against the Buckeye defense, whether it's the first or second team. I've got Ohio State 48, Marshall 6. You guys both have me rethinking that prediction, but I'm going to stick with it. Ohio State 48, Marshall 6.
Go with your gut.
I'm going to go with my gut. All right, fellas. There's just one other game that I'd like to have a look at. We can look at some other ones, but this is the one that I really want to look at, and then we can let you guys go. And that is, of course, number 11 USC visiting number 18 Michigan. This game is a 3:30 p.m. Eastern kick on CBS. We're going to get Gary Danielson and Brad Nessler, I assume. The line is USC 5.5. The over-under is 44.5. Now, Sharon Moore announced earlier this week that Alex Orji will start at quarterback in this game after Davis Warren's 3 INT performance against Arkansas State last Saturday. And the good news just keeps rolling in for Michigan. It looks like they could be without their top offensive weapon in this game, tight end Colston Loveland. Loveland had to exit last Saturday's game against Arkansas State with an apparent arm injury. Now, the Trojans are 2-0 with what looks like a much improved defense under new coordinator D'Anton Lynn. USC quarterback Miller Moss is completing 73% of his passes with what appears to be the usual arsenal of skilled talent around him that we've come to expect, both from USC and a Lincoln Riley offense. As I've said on this pod before, I'm a big fan of receiver return man Zachariah Branch. Kyron Hudson is also a big-time player. It was Hudson who made that Odell Beckham-like catch in the opener against LSU. The Trojans also have an excellent tight end in Lake McCree, who actually leads them both in receptions and receiving yards, funny enough. And they've got a good back in Woody Marks, who's averaging almost 6 yards a carry. CP, I'm going to kick this over to you. Who do you like in this game?
I'm going to be, I like USC, man. I think USC, I don't know that it'll be as bad as Texas, but that Moss kid, they got some talent on that team. And
yeah.
Their defense, like you had just alluded to, has been upgraded. Getting rid of, our buddy Alex
Gridge.
Alex G, yeah, getting rid of his ass and then bringing some. So I think they're looking really good on that side of the ball too. But man, they can put up some points, and I think Michigan's hobbling, and their defense is just, it's nothing like it's been the last couple of years.
Agreed.
So
yep.
I think that they get smoked to get in the shoe.
You mean in the big house?
Oh, Jesus, the big house.
That's the second time he's done. Should we worry about him, PVH? The second time he's confused the two stadiums.
It might be an intervention coming here.
We might need an intervention, CP. If you hear a knock at your door tomorrow, buddy.
Yeah. This is concerning.
That's just concerning.
PVH, how do you see this game playing out, man?
I don't know if you have it. Where does PFF have the USC defense right now? I love USC. I think it's going to be a wipeout.
Right.
And the reason why I asked the question, maybe if you can pull it up, is that I'm debating whether or not I like the over or under. I love USC in this game. I think 5.5 is a gift.
I'm looking them up.
And then which is really, I think, it actually should be the number one manifesto of the South Stand, that if your top offensive weapon is a tight end, then we've got to really have a sit down about your program, Michigan, or whomever that might be. And now that guy is not playing, or potentially not playing, makes me love USC even more. So definitely taking the Trojans minus the points. The question is it over or under? I'm not quite sure.
And the PFF grades are a little deceptive. I mean, overall, their overall grade for defense is 71.3, which doesn't rank them very high in the PFF grades, 89th. But I think that's a little deceptive. I mean, I think, if you watch, your eyes will tell you this is a much better tackling team.
Yeah.
They're much better at getting pressure. We only have a 2-game sample size. I don't know that the stats or the PFF grades are going to really demonstrate right now how improved they are. But I think you can, especially against this Michigan offense, right? I mean, they might I would not be surprised if Michigan comes out in like the wishbone, because I don't think Orji can hit the broadside of a barn with the football. He's clearly a very talented athlete, and they have some guys that can run the football. But Trojans were off last week. They've had the extra week to prepare. I mean, this to me has all the makings of, if not a USC blowout, certainly a convincing win. I mean, unless USC is completely in their heads and can't seem to handle the expectations here, I don't see how this one is close. I think SC wins this one by 2 scores, and Michigan kind of continues the tailspin. CP, I'm going to kick this one back to you. Any other thoughts on this matchup before we move on?
No, it's so fucking nice to see them get their asses kicked up there in Ann Arbor.
Yeah, it feels like it's going to be a long season for them. Yep. PPH, anything else you want to share about this matchup before we move on?
Yeah, no, I mean, the few times I've seen Orji, is that his name, Orji?
It is
weird, even coming out of the mouth. I mean, the dude is an impressive, athlete, but I mean, if he seriously must not be able to throw the ball, because how can you have all those physical skills, and you've been in the program for however long he's been in the program, you got beat by a walk-on. But who knows? He'll probably flash a few times, but it's not, I don't think it'll be enough. It'll be interesting to see, though, because, how high are we on USC? If they, maybe going to be the second or third best team in the Big Ten, which we're sort of, giving them a little bit of thought about at this point. This will be a good test for them. So, this is probably one of the more interesting games of the weekend as well.
Alex Orji has 7 career pass attempts at Michigan. He's thrown 6 forward passes this season. He did not attempt a pass in 2023. So I think maybe that tells you all you need to know about but as you say, impressive looking athlete. I mean, he's 6'3", 235 pounds. That is a big man.
Yeah, he's a huge dude.
Yeah. I mean, big guy. I mean, I think that he definitely is. He can make things happen with his legs. I mean, he's exceptional as a runner. I can't say that Davis Warren gave them anything exceptional. So, when you have a quarterback situation like the one that Michigan has, I think you have to go with the guy who has at least one exceptional trait. And it would make sense to me that they at least try Orji. And I think maybe what they're hoping for is a repeat of what Alabama was able to do last year with their young athletic quarterback, whose name escapes me. Help me out here, guys. What's his name?
Jalen Moore.
Jalen Milroe. Jalen Milroe. Yeah,
or
last
Milroe
year.
yeah,
thank you, PBH.
Yep.
Yeah, last year. I mean, if you're Michigan, you're kind of hoping that's what happens with Orji. They find a way to build his confidence. They use his skills as a runner, and maybe by the season's end,
around that.
Yeah, and maybe by season's end, he's a confident enough quarterback that they can count on to throw 15 passes a game. With that defense, they have good running backs. I think that Mullings is a good running back. Maybe they can cobble together a decent offense and win 8 or 9 games. But it's hard to see. It's hard to set the bar any higher than that, I think, for this Michigan team. And I do think this is a big moment for USC, even though I was watching Matt Leinart yesterday talk about this game. You know, he's a big SE alum, and he's a little worried about this game. And I think primarily just from the standpoint of USC's mentality, kind of between the ears. Are they ready for this moment to go on the road in a tough environment against the defending national champs that, granted, is, figuring some things out in transition. But, this is a game, if they don't play well, they could lose. I mean, Michigan still has a good defense, but I don't see that happening. Like I said, I like SC by a couple scores.
And you know what's weird about it is that they're getting, and they did win it all. And you know what? That's freaking hard to do. And however they got there and they pulled it off. I mean, we have to deal with it and accept it, Buckeye fans. But it's not like they've been a perennial power, right? Like,
no.
I think people think like, oh, they're playing the defending national champs. Yeah, but you don't like. I just feel like they don't even watch or pay attention, or we know more than they do. Like, they're just getting all this extra sort of love and credit because of what they did last year. And that team is gone. It's not like it's Georgia, or it's not like anybody that, any other program that's had a track record for the last decade. So, come on. And I get Leinart, right? He's just being a fan, right? He's being a fanboy because, that's
his alma mater,
school.
yeah.
But yeah, come on, dude. Like, no, they're a shell of themselves.
They really are.
They're still getting a lot of love from the national media, and it's kind of just head scratching to me.
All right, let's move to tomorrow night. There's kind of a nice little Big Ten appetizer. Number 24 Illinois at number 22 Nebraska. Both of these teams are undefeated. Very interesting matchup here. The line is Nebraska minus 7.5. The over-under is 42.5. They're not expecting a lot of points in this game. Admittedly, I don't know a ton about these teams, but I do know a little bit more about Nebraska than Illinois. I know they're going to have a good defense. Dylan Raiola, good quarterback. But outside of that, I don't know a ton about these two teams. Why don't I kick this over to you, CP, to get us started? Who do you like in this game?
Just the way Nebraska's looked so far, and obviously we've discussed Nebraska at a little bit of length. That matchup you asked, and possibly coming in there at 7-0 into the shoe. But Matt Rule is obviously a good fucking coach. But I'll tell you what, who is another good coach is Bielema, and I think they're going to have that team ready. So I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be a good game, man. I think that Nebraska will come out on top. I think it's going to be a pretty good ball game, though. Pretty good battle.
I think so, too. So this is interesting. Illinois quarterback Luke Altmaier completing 69% of his passes. He's got 6 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He's playing really well for them. Altmaier is this could be a sneaky good matchup of quarterbacks. You wouldn't think it kind of on the surface at first blush, but it looks like this could be a good matchup from that standpoint. PVH, how do you see this game playing out?
Well, and CP just said it, and I forgot it. I forgot it was old Bert Bielema.
Yeah.
The quarterback at Illinois. They're 3-0. Dude, I like Illinois in this game. I think you gotta get over that hump, right? And I think there's no program in the world, right, that is just more sort of, I don't know, shell shocked, or I don't know what the right adjective is, that if it starts going south on them, they're like, oh God, here we go again, right? Just as the hype train is really about to leave the station. And yeah, man, I mean, plus you're getting 7.5. I mean, we're going to take that every day of the week, I think. And it wouldn't surprise me if Illinois wins. It'll be a close, tight game.
Yeah.
But I like Illinois to win it straight up, actually.
Wow. Okay. Well, and
Wow.
last week's pod, you had said about Nebraska that you're just not a believer yet. You need to see more. You're not ready.
And he's still a freshman. He's got to do it, right?
That's right. That's a good point.
He's a freshman.
Rayola is just a freshman.
You're
Altmaier has the experience edge over him. Should be a really fun game and a nice kind of warm up for the weekend. Little Friday night Big Ten action. I love it. All right,
Friday Night Lights, baby.
Scrolling down some of the other games here. It's not that intriguing of a slate. There is a pretty interesting late afternoon game. This is a 7:30, an evening game, 7:30 p.m. Eastern kick. Number 6 Tennessee at number 15 Oklahoma. Now, guys, we talked about Tennessee last week as a program that could join that upper echelon that has Georgia, Texas, and Ohio State by the end of the year. They've looked absolutely explosive so far through 3 games. They're 3-0. They're number 6 in the country. The line in this game, Tennessee minus 6.5. The over-under is 56.5. Should be a lot of points scored in this game. Both teams are undefeated. CP, how do you see this one playing out?
I don't know, man. That's one of those games where it's just like I'm not quite sure who I like in that game. I don't think I would put any money on that game. I don't know, man. But I think it's just a coin toss.
Yep.
To be honest, I don't have an opinion one way or the other.
Okay.
I'm trying to keep myself from going like 0-4 the fourth week of the pod. So I'm just going to keep it right there. Flip of a coin.
Flip of a coin. Okay. Too close to call for you. How about you, PVH? Who do you like in this game?
So Tennessee they beat Chattanooga, they beat NC State, and they beat Kent State. And it's not murderer's row of a schedule. But my God, they put up 69, 51, and 71 points.
Explosive.
And I'm kind of with Chad on this. Like, I don't have a good gut feel, but if gun to my head, and I'm not afraid because I'm not 0-4 like our gambling buddy is, I'm gonna roll with Tennessee to cover this. Oklahoma, you're ranked 15th, but okay, you beat Temple and Houston. Yeah, you beat Houston 16-12, and you beat Tulane 34-19. Yeah, man, I'm rolling with the Vols on this one. I think.
Yeah, I am as well.
One thing that does look kind of like there's a few underlying, intriguing facts going on. I mean, Heupel's coming back into Oklahoma where he won a national championship as a quarterback.
Heupel, that's right. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, he's coming home. He's coming home.
Yeah, he's coming home, baby.
I think I'm going to take Tennessee to cover in this one as well. This one could get ugly. It's going to be hot there. I'm looking at the weather forecast, 95 degrees. My God. But maybe by the time they kick off, though, it'll be evening. It'll cool off a little bit. But man, Jesus, that is really, really.
Yeah, it'll be down to 90 and 87% humidity in Oklahoma, Missouri.
Here's one, and again, we're not the most intriguing slate this week, but a couple weeks ago, Bowling Green went into Happy Valley and took Penn State down to the wire. They visit Kyle Field to take on Texas A&M. The line is 22.5. This could be an upset special here. I would not be surprised if Bowling Green goes in there. And, just A&M, right? You just never know what you're going to get with them.
I love that too, right? Like, Bowling Green, man, they got those Ohio kids, and there's the only program there's 3, right? It's awesome to see Michigan lose and suck. It's awesome to see Clemson and lose and suck. And A&M is right there at number 3. It's just so satisfying.
All right, fellas, look, that was a solid effort. Why don't we end things there for our listeners? Check your feeds on Sunday afternoon for a recap of the Marshall game. Until then, thanks so much for listening, and go Bucks. You've been listening to The South Stands, a Buckeye football podcast. Follow us on X at South_Stands.